Imagine a world without the DL-6 incident. Well, a comic artist from Germany named Jhin has decided to make it a reality in his new webcomic called One Way Turnabout Ticket. This video will be an intro to this alternate universe, an overview of the first chapter, and my thoughts as well. If you're interested in this comic, the link will be down below. So of course, first it's important to understand the cliff notes of what happened in the actual timeline we got. The DL-6 incident was a murder in which Gregory Edgeworth, a defense attorney, was murdered in an elevator after a trial. The perpetrator was his opponent, Manfred von Karma. However, von Karma managed to get away with it for 20 years until he was finally brought to justice. Edgeworth's son Miles, who was also in the elevator, was taken in by Manfred von Karma and molded into his perfect protege. See, Miles aspired to be like his father, a defense attorney. But over the years, von Karma turned him into the exact opposite of that. A ruthless prosecutor who cared only about getting a guilty verdict, not the truth. It is throughout the events of the first Ace Attorney game that Edgeworth finally grows out of this with the help of his childhood friend Phoenix Wright, who he fell out of contact with after the DL-6 incident. By the end of the game, von Karma is brought to justice and Edgeworth realizes the error of his ways. And, by the end of the trilogy, in the concluding case Bridge to the Turnabout, Edgeworth finally gets to act as a defense attorney. So, that's a nice conclusion for him. So, what's going on in this AU? Well, first, if you're liking this video, get subscribed so you don't miss my Turnabout Goodbyes review next week, if you're into DL-6. Anyway, the comic begins with Phoenix awaking from his slumber. He's greeted by his good friend Larry Butts, a non-flanderized version might I add, thank God. Then we meet our star, prosecutor Miles Edgeworth, with earrings. Okay, I'm not really a fan of the earrings personally, but I mean it's an alternate universe, so we'll give it some leeway. I'm also not on board with him being a prosecutor at the moment, but I'll get to that later. Anyway, we also meet the still alive and now much older Gregory Edgeworth. Phoenix is a bit more snarky than usual here, especially to his superior as he works for Gregory, but I don't mind it. It's within the realms of possibility that having a cool, calm, and collected friend in Miles Edgeworth could make him take on a more sarcastic role in their relationship. The signs are there in the real universe, but it's not quite this much. Miles and Nick get on the train as they're heading to a bar association event. Phoenix forgets his luggage, but thankfully his helpful friend Miles had already packed for him in anticipation of this. Forgetful Phoenix has returned. We get some good characterization and a bit of backstory from the two, and then our intro chapter ends. So I'm a terrible artist, but I'll give some brief thoughts on the art in this comic anyway. The art is good, but it's a bit uncanny valley, you know? I mean, that's expected of course. We know and love these characters in one specific art style, and this one goes in a different direction. Like I mentioned, I'm not a fan of Edgeworth with earrings, probably just a personal preference, but I don't really feel like they fit him all that much, even this revamped version of him. Otherwise, I like everything else, even though, like I said, it's a bit uncanny valley due to the obvious things that are lost in an art style change, like the length of Phoenix's hair. It's a bit too short here, but maybe he got a haircut in preparation for the Bar Association event. I like the characterization of everyone here, outside of the one thing that I'll get into in a minute. Everyone is different, but different in ways that are reasonable. I already mentioned Phoenix's snarkiness earlier, but Larry is also better in this brief appearance than literally anything past the first game. It's a bit too early in this comic's lifespan to really talk all that deeply about characterization, so I'll instead talk about Prosecutor Edgeworth now. Now look. The only reason in the real timeline that Miles Edgeworth became a prosecutor is because of von Karma's influence. Before that, he absolutely wanted to be like his father and looked up to him a ton. This is something that Jhin is going to have to address at some point. What exactly is the diverging point in this alternate universe? Did Gregory decide to take the stairs instead of the elevator on the day he would have otherwise been murdered? If that's the diverging point, Prosecutor Edgeworth doesn't really make that much sense. Perhaps the diverging point is before that, but how much before? The class trial where Phoenix was accused of stealing lunch money and Edgeworth came to his defense wasn't that long before the DL-6 incident, and in that, he was clearly still on the path to joining his father as a defense attorney. It's something that's an integral part of his character, as evidenced by his role in Bridge to the Turnabout. This actually leads me to a couple other timeline-related questions that I guess I'll try to answer now. Alright, so here's one that's a bit easier to answer. Why did Phoenix still end up becoming a lawyer? In the actual series, the class trial played a role, but Phoenix's role as a defendant in a case being defended by Mia Fey is what firmly set him on that path. So what set him on the path here? Thankfully, it's easy to answer. Being friends with Miles and being around Gregory had to have helped him cement his desire to be a lawyer. But this also goes back into my point about Edgeworth. Wouldn't having his father around cement his desire to become a defense attorney? I also have to wonder where the Fays are in this story. It would feel a bit weird to not have them in it, right? Fays are all over the series. They're the main family, really. There are 8 members of the Fae clan alone in the trilogy that I can name off the top of my head. But of course, the DL-6 incident never happening means that Misty never leaves, and therefore Mia never becomes an attorney. And there isn't really a place for everyone to meet, as no member of the Fae family would be involved in law. Other than Dahlia, who's probably still an asshole, to be honest. So this video was just a quick look at an interesting alternate universe. Thanks to Jhin for giving me permission to make this video, and thanks to everyone for watching. Next week, it'll be a review on Turnabout Goodbyes. Anyway, to the left is a video I think you may enjoy. Check it out, and subscribe on the right. Peace out.